I used to see God in weird places,
I used to see God in weird places.
like the lines of my palms or the rearview mirror of my mother's old car. I told my father about this. He was a pastor for 22 years. He told me that the Lord resides in the scripture, not your imagination. And I would try to explain that at that age, I wasn't literally seeing a kind, bearded man in the lines of my palms or in rearview mirrors, but he just tossed the Bible in front of me and told me to copy verses. This isn't a punishment. Most people will call my father a good man. He never smoked, lost his virginity to my mother. I don't think he ever touched another woman in his life. When he hit me, he kept his fist loose, so it felt more like a good push. In elementary school, all the other kids would complain about the beatings they get from their fathers. And you could tell if they got hit the night before, too, because they'd show up to school and they'd sit on their hands and stare at the empty worksheets on their desks. But my father stopped after kindergarten. Instead, he would bring out this family Bible thicker than my head and read to me the story of Isaac and Abraham. It was weird to hear him read the Bible like it was a book and not like Sunday mornings. Then God said, "Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Take him as a sacrifice on a mountain I will show you." Now that I think about it, that's a weird story to read with your father. But I got his point. When he was finished, he wouldn't say anything. He just gave me a look that felt like the man had taken me by the leg and swung me into the wall. And he preached like that, too. He took each verse, loaded them into the chamber, and opened fire into the congregation. And I would look around when he was finished, expecting bodies. But all I saw were smiling faces. He was good. Babies would never cry when he preached. I remember one day, after one of his Easter sermons, a man in a white suit came up to him and said, "With the way you preach, you ought to run for office." He would have hated that. Without the need for a sermon, my father had very little to say. So he smiled politely. He thanked the man. He said he had already found his life's work. And then he put his arm around my shoulder. And he said, "This boy too, gotta pass it on." And then he pulled me in for one of those weird half hugs. And I felt the stubble of his neck graze my cheek. That's probably my favorite memory of him.
On Sunday mornings, Daddy's